What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about apartments in Norway and how apartments in Norway compare to America. What it's like to buy one, how much they cost, what they're like. As an American living in America, I've lived in several different apartments. I've always thought they're pretty good. I mean, there's a big variety. There's a very big variety of apartments you can get in America. And more recently, especially now, they've gotten very expensive. Renting in America has gotten much more expensive in the past couple of years. So I wonder if that's true in Norway as well. So I found this, the complete guide to apartments in Norway. So I thought this would be very interesting. Welcome to our comprehensive guide to apartments in Norway. We'll explore the various types of Norwegian apartments from a charming historic bygard in the heart of Oslo to a modern, energy efficient new build with all the modern amenities. Wow. In America, I mean, for the most part, you're probably going to find a combination of old apartments, and there's always going to be new ones being built, so you kind of have your pick. And if you're in a major city, like New York City or something in America, you're basically just going to have to live in an old apartment, because those have just been there forever. Maybe that's similar to Oslo, perhaps. We'll dive into the nuances of renting versus buying, provide tips on apartment sizes, costs, and renting. Okay, nice. Norwegian apartments range from rustic old buildings full of character to hyper-modern, energy-efficient smart homes. Wow, that's something I love about Norway, is there's a bunch of historical buildings and a lot of history, but Norway is also really good at being very modern and having a lot of modern-looking buildings and architecture. It rides the line between those two, old and new, very well. So I guess you get your pick in Norway, huh? We divided Norwegian apartments into 4 categories. Okay, okay. Bygard. This is your traditional uber European apartment block. Bygard. Oh, like this. Oh, wow. Wow, this is nice. Yeah, you really would not find anything like this design in America. This looks European. This looks very fancy and kinda old style, but not ugly. Like very nice. So this has a name in Norway, a bygard. Typically built between 1840 and 1910. These units in these blocks vary in size and quality, depending on what refurbishments were carried out. Right, this is old stuff. These are like over 100 years old. These apartments, oh my gosh. So it depends on how well they've been maintained, honestly. They look beautiful, but you need the inside to be a bit modern. Honestly, that's what I would want. They are full of historic charm, located in attractive locations, which can be a bit noisy. Okay, so these are like in Norwegian cities. Like these look historical, like they'd be in a city. They can vary inside from drowsy and shabby to swanky and modern, depending on the care of the owner. Right, okay, so that's a bygard. Okay. You'll find these in Oslo, Bergen, and Trondheim, and smaller cities like Alesund. Cool, okay, that's exactly what I was wondering. Okay. The post-war nondescript blocks, countless apartment blocks built in the 1950s and 60s to meet a skyrocketing housing demand. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is more like what you'd find in an American city or something. Like, kind of modern, kind of like built in the 50s and 60s, just, regular apartments. This is more what I'm used to. This, what we're calling post-war nondescript blocks. With their square, empty-looking windows, they don't look like much from the outside, but they have balconies, which a bygard usually lacks, and sizable rooms. Yeah, this is just like if you want an apartment and you're not messing around and you don't really care what it looks like. This is what you get in Norway, basically. It looks nice. Looks nice enough, you know. They're typically not as central as the Bygard, but not quite as central. In Oslo is not necessarily still very far. Okay, so these aren't necessarily in the center of the city. And we have the new builds. These are built in the last 15 years. Unlike the previous categories, they have modern ventilation and high energy efficiency. These are probably awesome. Like a modern Norwegian apartment built in the last 15 years probably looks insane. Because Norway does a very good job at modern building, modern architecture, and incorporating technology into new stuff. Oh, that'd be cool. I'm almost the kind of person who wants the modern apartments rather than the older European, the Bygard. But they both have their pros and cons. You'll save in energy bills, will likely disappear in mortgage or rent. Top tier prices for these modern new apartments in Norway. Okay. And the Sokkelleikte. Sokkelleikte? I can't say this word. Perhaps the least appealing of all the types, the Sokkelleikte basement apartment can be an attractive option if you are looking to rent and save money. Is this a basement apartment? So is it underground? Like in a basement? So this is the least appealing, but the cheapest, I guess? Beware of unscrupulous owners or well-intentioned ones who don't know the rules? What? Sokol apartments are found in detached houses dating from any time after the war? What? More recent ones are cleverly done. The older ones are an afterthought. So, this is like when you're living in someone's basement. Like if someone owns a home or a property and they want to rent out their basement and make extra money. That's what this is. Okay. That's not even an apartment. Kinda. Okay. Be aware that this type of rental is more liable to a sudden termination if the owner decides they need it. That is sketchy. That's sketchy. Now, in America, that would be ridiculously sketchy and a little scary. In Norway, I think people are a lot more trustworthy in Norway, and there's a lot less crime. So I would almost feel a lot better doing this kind of thing in Norway. A Sokkel apartment. Not in America, though. Never. I wouldn't. No. People are not trusting enough to live in their basement. No. Only if you have to. Some people are having hard financial times and they have to. So you got to do what you got to do, I suppose. What else do we have here? The size of Norwegian apartments. Norwegian apartments are somewhat smaller than their American counterparts and comparable to British flats. Oh my gosh. This is tiny. You wouldn't even be able to find an apartment this small in America if you tried. The apartments in America are pretty big. This is like the size of a closet in some houses. I know Britain has small apartments. You know what? Maybe you could find something like this in New York City, where there's just no space. But this I've never seen an apartment this small before. Oh my, Norwegian apartments may be smaller than you're used to. Yeah. Wow, it's barely enough room just for the bed. Oh my goodness. Oh my, one important detail to know when looking for one is how Norwegians refer to apartment sizes. In the US, it's customary to count the bedrooms. Yeah, like a one-bedroom apartment. In Norway, a one-bedroom apartment is called a turomsleilighet, literally two-room apartment. Oh, Norwegians count the living room and kitchen as one room, and each bedroom as an additional. Wow, wow, that's different. Yeah, in America, you just refer to apartments by the amount of bedrooms they have, and that's it. One bedroom, two bedroom apartment. In Norway, the kitchen and living room count as a room. So even if the apartment has one bedroom, it'd be called a two bedroom. Two-roms-leilighet. Two room. Okay, that's important to know. That's a big distinction when buying an apartment. A really big one. Um, you'll have to start thinking in square meters instead of square feet. Okay, that makes sense. Renting in Norway. Norwegians believe owning a home is better than renting. Yes, I mean, Americans totally agree that owning a home is better. And in the good old days, 20, 30, 40 years ago, every American wanted to own a home. But now, in 2023, most Americans can barely afford to rent. And many Americans cannot afford homes ever, basically. So that's really changing. But obviously, everyone would like to own a home. But that's not the reality anymore. No, no, no. The rental market in Norway is smaller and less developed than the US. Oh, because the government in Norway favors home ownership. Okay, there might be fewer apartments to rent. Okay, okay. Interesting. So there's not as many apartments available in Norway. Most people own a home. Okay. Okay, that's a good thing. In Norway, I hope people in Norway all can afford to get houses. That sounds amazing. Renting an apartment in Norway is not as expensive as you would think, considering how expensive everything else is in the country. Yeah, I would think that renting in Norway is expensive, because all I ever hear is how expensive Norway is, right? Just everything's super expensive, but renting is not? Of course, everything is relative, but the average Norwegian one-bedroom apartment... Oh, whoopsie. Got a pop-up. Okay. The average Norwegian one-bedroom apartment costs about the same as in the UK, and much less than the US. A one-bedroom apartment is less in Norway than the United States? Less? There's something in Norway that's cheaper? And of all things, it's apartments. That is shocking, because in America, apartments are famously, like, expensive. Everything is getting very expensive, especially living. Houses and apartments. Wow. A Torom, one-bedroom apartment, will set you back 9,800 NOK, about 900 US dollars. Of course, most people don't live in an average apartment. So, a one-bedroom apartment in Norway is about $940. I mean, that's not super expensive, but it's not cheap. A lot of Americans would have a lot of trouble paying $942 a month. That's not that cheap. I don't think that's that cheap for a lot of Americans. If you're looking for a one-bedroom apartment in Oslo, expect to pay 3,000 NOK more. 3,000 more. So like $1,200? 1,200 US dollars, maybe? That's pretty cheap. Interesting. Prices in Bergen and Trondheim are close to the average. Prices in smaller cities are expected to be below average. Well, I live in kind of an average city, town in America, and I think rent is like around $800, $900, and it sounds like in Norway it's about the same. Sounds very similar, honestly, renting in Norway and America, and that's shocking to me. I would have thought living in Norway, renting, would be much more expensive. Huh. I wonder why that is. Finding an apartment in Norway is best done browsing ads. Yeah, just use the internet. On Finn.no, which holds a monopoly on ads in Norway. Okay. So you can just surf this website to find your apartment in Norway. That makes sense. Select a place, schedule a visit. Yeah. Then you sign the contract. Um, what do we have here? The owner can demand 6 times the monthly rent as a security deposit. The security deposit in Norway is massive by international standards. Oh my gosh. The security deposit in Norway can be 6 times the rent. That is unbelievable. No Americans could afford that. Like, Americans do not have, they can't pay 6 times the rent for a, that is crazy. So the rent in Norway is low, but the security deposit is insane. Wow. Okay. Um, what do we have here? Oh, buying an apartment. Oh, you can buy an apartment? To buy an apartment in Norway, the best place to start is to browse the ads. Apartments are sold in Norway in 2 ways: Andelseier and Selvier. Andelseier, apartments owning a share of the building? If an apartment is sold under the Andelseier type of ownership, the buyer is buying a share in the building. You're buying a share of the building? Like a stock or something? What? It sounds scary, but it's like owning the apartment? That's weird. I've never heard of that. Owning a share of the building. Kind of like your apartment is a part of the building. You own a part of the building, basically. Huh. The building itself is a separate legal entity. Okay. That's weird. Okay. Properties in a Boardslag are usually apartments or townhouses, but other types of housings can be included. Fees. Yep. Okay. Huh. Selvier apartments, your own apartment. So the first type was owning a share of the building. But this Selvier is when you own the whole thing. You can go for a self-owned apartment. You have to pay a 2.5 transfer tax, but you really own the place with almost no strings attached and get more freedom with renovating. Okay. Yeah, most Americans would probably either buy the whole thing or just rent. I've never heard of this owning a share of the building. I've never heard of that. That's not a thing in America. Huh. Interesting. Very interesting. Heating in Norwegian apartments. In times of energy crisis, check your apartment's insulation and heating system. Does the apartment have a wood-burning stove? Really? Is this necessary? Like, to have a wood-burning stove? Like, this would be unheard of in America. Needing a wood-burning stove. Like, that sounds like it's from a 1,000 years ago. Like, no one has a wood-burning stove for heat. So in Norway, if there's energy crisis, you can use a wood-burning stove. Is that normal? Is that commonplace to have a wood-burning stove to heat the house? Wood-burning stoves are common in Norway. Really? I've never even seen this in real life. Huh. Wow. Wow. Interesting. Dugnad, a very Norwegian word. Regardless of ownership, chances are you won't escape the ever-present dugnad. The dugnad is a collective volunteer action by a community that benefits the entire community. Think old-time barn raising. The whole village gets together to rebuild a barn after a fire. In the context of an apartment building, this can mean all hands on deck to sweep the parking lot, rake the lawn, trim the bushes. Wow. Oh, this is not a thing in America. Dugnad. It sounds very nice. It sounds like very community. But Americans would never, ever do this. We expect that when we're paying rent, that we're also paying for the management to hire people to clean the building and landscape and trim the bushes and mow the grass. The people renting, never are a part of like maintaining the the building or the landscape. That is not a thing. That would make Americans like almost a little irritated if that wasn't included in the rent. But in Norway, you have dugnad, volunteer action. The day of dugnad. What? That benefits the community. Yeah, this is just a Norwegian thing. I think Americans are a bit more selfish and a little lazy. And this is like Norwegians getting together to like maintain, sweep the parking lot, rake the lawn, trim bushes. I mean, that's nice. It's like once a year or something. The penalty for not attending is nothing but shame. Oh, and to meet with your neighbors. It's like just a sense of community. That's nice. That's very Norwegian. I've never that is that is different. That is different. Okay. Wow, so that's it. Oh my gosh. There was a surprising number of differences between Norwegian apartments and American apartments. Like the types of apartments, the pricing was surprising to me, how similar it is. But then the down payments are enormous, and there's uh, wood burning stoves, and dugnad, and you can own a share of your apartment, or you can buy the whole thing, or oh my gosh, there is a lot more to this than I ever imagined. Man, there's modern apartments or older apartments. The apartments are so small compared to America. That's surprising because I think everything in Norway is so nice. I didn't know they were so small. Maybe Americans just like demand these extravagant, huge things, or we get really cranky, basically. But wow, I did not expect there to be so many new things about apartments in Norway. I'm very pleasantly surprised. There was a lot of cool stuff here. I enjoyed it. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting and learning about Norway and Norwegian culture and stuff in Norway I've never seen, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.